Well, welcome back, everybody. My guest's career has been anything but linear, and that's exactly what makes it so compelling. From growing up in a family farm in Nebraska to starting her career in finance to leading IT and global business services, and now serving as Aon's global chief operating officer, Mindy Simon has consistently leaned into change, complexity, and opportunity. Mindy's humble Midwest roots provided a solid foundation to thrive in fast moving industries and high stakes leadership roles. Along the way, she's become known for her ability to bridge the worlds of business and technology to design organizations that not only launch, but sustain transformation. And she leads with such authenticity and heart. Today, Mindy leads Aon's global operating platform, which is Aon Business Services, ABS, with a global workforce that she oversees of 15,000 Aon colleagues, and that balloons to 22,000 people when you factor in her contractors that support them. She serves 60,000 Aon colleagues globally in 120 countries around the world. It's a massive, massive remit. But while the scale and the numbers are impressive, what truly sets Mindy apart is her people-first mindset, her commitment to building leaders, and her belief that the proof of transformation lies in measurable business outcomes. So let's meet the amazing Mindy Simon. So Mindy, welcome to the show, and thanks so much for joining us today. You've got a big, big week in New York this week, so I know you've got a lot happening. But, listeners are going to start to want to hear very soon. They're going to say, wow, she is amazing. What took Dan so long to feature Mindy on Tech Whisperer? So let's take it from there.
Dan, what's worse is I don't actually know how many times I told you no, but what's worse is I think I gave you long no's because I'm not the best at managing my LinkedIn inbox. But ultimately, I wanted to ensure that we were showing impact from the results. And so happy to have the conversation today.
Well, the expression, good things come to those who wait, Mindy. And our listeners are going to see why, as we unpack your story, why that is. So let's start at the beginning. I kind of want to tap into your special story, your roots, your upbringing, the early chapters of your journey and career. So maybe just start there for us.
Yeah, I grew up on a farm in Nebraska, and one in which my father mortgaged his father's farm, which meant that if he lost one farm, he actually lost two. So I say that because risk management is really core to who I am in terms of choices really have ramifications. And so being very thoughtful about that. Then through college, studied agriculture economics, went into cattle feeding, and did an early startup of a farm to fork business at a family feedlot operation, and joined Conagra back in 2000 when it was a global agricultural conglomerate, so more like an ADM or a Cargill, and had a huge opportunity to grow and learn through what I would call massive portfolio transformation from vertical integration to a pure play branded food company, from hundreds of independent operating companies to one Conagra, and through both successful and unsuccessful growth strategies, including an activist investor along the way, and had the opportunity for various roles, be they finance, technology, and ultimately was CIO leading both tech and global services.
Yeah, such a rich background and that entrepreneurial zest that you have going back to growing and running and scaling businesses. I want to jump into our first mystery question, Mindy, and this you're going to know who this is immediately, and a very successful CIO in his own right. But he always said to me many times, he said, Mindy Simon is the best CIO in the business. So with that, listen in and tell us who this is when we come back.
Hi, Mindy. I've got a question about the transferability of your leadership style. You started in finance, made your way to an IT role dealing with analytics, as I recall, then followed Mr. Chute as the CIO of Conagra, whose style was very different than yours. Then a few years later, you made this trip across the ocean to a new country, in a new business, in a new role, and somehow you always end up being tremendously successful. Can you share with the group exactly what it is about your leadership style that makes it so transferable that you can make all those moves and be successful? What should we all be doing that you do?
Who's that,
Mr.
Mindy?
Steve Zerby.
Absolutely. Thank you, Steve. Yeah. You guys go
So
back
I
a
still
way.
can't believe we're tired. We do. We go back a long way, and I count on Steve as a mentor. And he had a phenomenal career. Still, I'm sure doing great things in his retirement.
So jump in his question, Mindy. A lot of nuggets there in terms of your overall story.
Yeah, so I'd say I've had the incredible privilege of working with and for some incredible leaders. And what I'd say at the core to my style is a need for authenticity. And within that, the three aspects that I pull on, one, I'd say comes naturally, and two, I've had to work to develop over time. But the first I'd say is curiosity. So, really understanding at the core how things work, because if you know how things work, you can know how to change the result of that. So, whether in technology, it's how data is created, whether it's in finance, how levers can be pulled to drive certain business results. But really, both I'd say across the horizontal and the vertical of how businesses run. What I'd say second is having courage, which this really came from having incredible mentors and sponsors along the way who really encouraged me to do things I didn't think that I could do. But that courage comes with knowing what you know and also what you don't know, and the courage to be able to ask for help. And that doesn't mean being fearless. Fearless and courage are two very different things. But knowing that if you can control what you can control and then manage and lead and plan around what you can't control, that can really help provide that foundation to have ultimately as manageable results as you can. And lastly, I would say empathy. And that's really listening, learning, adapting, and enabling teams to both be inspired by the potential, whether it's as their individual leaders or their potential to impact, and really helping them to understand the why that comes with that. And so those are what I would say I pull on and try to continue to develop every day.
Well, I appreciate your humility, your transparency. You do those things very, very well, and definitely core to um, your superpowers, which we're going to learn more about here. So I want to kind of pivot from the special relationship with Steve and his great question to another mystery questioner who might be a little bit related. So let's listen in.
I'm Mindy. It's your favorite mentee from Ohio. Years ago, you taught me a ton about connecting the technology roadmaps to the enterprise strategy. So I'm curious, as technology is even more critical now to business growth, how in your expanded role do you tie those investments in IT to the measurable results that are then seen in the business and the function?
Yeah, so that would be my favorite mentee in Ohio, which is Annie Baymiller. And what I would say, and Annie and I had a ton of fun on several calls working towards her aspiration to being a CIO, but is really I love Simon Sinek's Power of Why. And why I think that matters is because a lot of times you can get caught up in what is the IT strategy or the digital strategy, when at the core it's what is the company's strategy. And when you can really get it down to what is driving the firm in which you serve, that then provides a lot of clarity on what is the priority and how, particularly from a technology perspective, you both protect, which is critical, but also serve to really enable that growth and outcomes that you're trying to drive. And so really focusing on the why and the why of everything we do. And that's whether it's infrastructure, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's applications, products, but constantly questioning that. And then also really being focused on the outcomes and the outcomes that are measurable. A lot of times people will be the outcome and then they'll give you a bunch of words. It's like, great. Now give me those words and numbers and data. And as you get to the numbers and data, it helps you really focus on what you're trying to do so that you fall in love with the right problem.
Oh, so good, so good. Annie and Steve worked together back at Owens Corning. Steve was the outgoing CIO. Annie is just crushing it there now. M&A and transformation, and I actually did a podcast with the two of them back in December of 2022, featuring the best CIO succession story I've ever seen. And you and I know the story well, and I tell people go watch that episode.
Phenomenal. And it's a great story of Steve recognizing how good Annie was and Annie learning to realize how good Annie was. It's a great story.
That's a
Still
really good
realizing.
point.
I still push her on that, but yes.
Yes, really good point. Yeah, so go back and check that out. But thank you, Annie. I want to kind of shift to Aon. Your role at Aon, really interesting company at an interesting time. You lead the firm's global operations, which you call Aon Business Services (ABS). And so I'm going to ask you, Mindy, just for a second, put your Midwest humility aside, just for a minute, and give us a full picture of Aon Business Services, what it does, and what you're most proud of. What the team's accomplished on behalf of Aon's both your colleagues and your clients.
So Aon Business Services really brings together both tech and ops globally across our 120 countries that we serve and serving all of our clients across those regions. We have phenomenal colleagues at this firm that thrive on serving our clients with deep, deep domain, which has been a ton of fun to learn, whether it be reinsurance, insurance, things like catastrophe modeling. We have this thing that we call the cat tracker, which I'm like, you say cat tracker, and I actually think, visually of like trail cams and cat, but it's tracking catastrophes. Nuclear engineering, health, wealth, talent, just phenomenal capabilities that we do. But within that, what I'd say I'm most proud of that Aon Business Services has done is partnering with our business leaders to bring speed and quality of capabilities that really are enabling our clients to face the volatility that they're seeing better than they ever have before. And that's whether it's through analytics capabilities, whether it's through risk transfer, risk retention. But by coming and being aligned on what we needed to drive and deliver for our clients, we have gone a tremendous distance in just not much time at all in the scheme of things. And the second thing I'd say is really the global team. We've brought everyone together with an aligned purpose, and whether that's at the executive level or down at the execution level. And that purpose is to help our clients make better decisions. And when you have that common goal, it makes it very easy to pivot and to go and to move quickly. And those, I'd say, are really the two things that have been just a ton of fun.
You make it sound so easy, Mindy. Yeah, just give us a sense of how many colleagues and ABS that report up into you.
Yeah, so we have roughly 15,000, a little over 20,000 if you include our partners that we work with through the various providers that we have. And serving all of our solution lines in all of our regions.
I want to encourage everybody. I took a little time and went back and watched Aon's Investor Day event, the most recent one. And it's funny, in your last answer, you talked about speed and velocity and pace. And the title of your presentation was Accelerating Aon United, right? So I want to encourage everyone to go back and watch that because it blew me away. I mean, I really, really can't say that enough. And these are high stakes presentations, right? I mean, you've got investors in the room, investors watching, your 60,000 Aon colleagues around the globe, clients, competitors. I mean, so with that, just give us a little groundwork in terms of what is Aon United and what's the role? How is ABS, Aon Business Services, enabling that vision?
Yeah, so Aon United, I think of, coming from the client side, is being able to sit across from our clients and asking them, what challenges are you facing? And what I mean by that is we have the content and capabilities across our firm to be able to help across so many areas. We are not bound by regions or by P&Ls. So we can bring the wholeness of the firm to our clients. And Dan, you're going to say, you make that sound easy. This has been an incredibly hard journey, as you can imagine, because Aon grew by acquisition over time and across, a huge, disparate, regional footprint too. And it's been over 15 years that really our CEO, Greg Case, and the team set the vision of Aon United. And that has continued to come to fruition for our clients. And what that enables us to bring is all the services that can then be provided not just from our colleagues, but from Aon Business Services across that end-to-end client experience. So regardless of what region a client sits in or what service they're looking for, we can really bring that together And really, we've learned that because we don't have silos, we can help our clients work across their silos as they really traverse. And that's really been a phenomenal journey, and one that I experienced in my prior firm too, going from the hundreds of independent operating companies down to a single brand. And it just makes it tremendously fun because, again, you have 60,000 colleagues every day that are coming in to serve one thing, and that's our clients.
Incredible. Yeah. I think this work that you're doing, actually, I know it's kind of building that proverbial moat around the company, right? Giving it a real advantage, Mindy. And so you talk about these end-to-end capabilities, and you talk about it in a couple of contexts I think are really interesting. One is you talk about risk capital and you talk about human capital. So kind of pull that together for us in terms of the operations and technology functions you oversee.
Yeah, so our business, in terms of how we go to market with our clients, are into two components. So risk capital, which is really commercial risk and reinsurance, and human capital, which is health, wealth, and talent. And so what we've really done in terms of bringing together, the proverbial moat, to your point, is looking across our end-to-end client experience. Very similar to what you would do across a, consumer value chain or a customer journey or a manufacturing process, right? It's a very similar mindset across industries and really coming together on how do we provide our services and capabilities to our clients. And for us, it really starts with analytics. And our clients have asked us, help us make database decisions. Again, whether it's how to optimize our dollar that we spend on our human capital or with our employees, all the way through, should we be doing risk retention or risk transfer? So really starting with analytics. Then we move into broking and advisory. Broking really being, how do we do that risk transfer, if you will, with insurance-like products? And then advisory is what it says, right? Really providing that consulting, whether it be through benchmarks or diagnostics on how to ultimately change those outcomes. And then service is really 365 days of the year, right? Whether it's about how you interact with us, whether it's how you share data with us, whether it's how you get an invoice, right? That's all part of really that client experience. And that's what we've worked with our business partners to map what that looks like end to end. Because what we learned as we went through this is our client is with us through every single step of that journey. And so how do we really provide that experience that's differentiated and eliminates friction?
Yeah. Yeah. So good. And this is one of the major themes in your Investor Day presentation that you go even more detail on. So I want, again, people to go see that. This would be a good point, Mindy. I've got another mystery questioner for you that is going to shine the light, kind of get you talking about some things, some topics that are very near and dear to you. So let's see if you recognize this voice here.
Hi, Mindy. Congratulations on being featured on the Tech Whispers podcast. Now, since you arrived at Aon, you have been a tremendous leader, emphasizing the critical role technology plays in advancing the client experience. Could you talk about how, through your leadership, Aon is leveraging technology and AI on behalf of our clients to help them protect and to grow their businesses?
Wow.
That's an
Who's
easy
that, Mindy?
That would be my boss, Greg Case, our CEO here at Aon. And yeah, so and Greg has been a huge advocate for everything that we're doing and sponsor for our AI strategy. So what I'd say is AI is really the foundation of the architecture that we've built, because first you start with data, and as you have data, you then can leverage AI across those processes. So when you think about how do you bring that to life in terms of a strategy, we've really broken the strategy into two components. One, what we call embedded AI at scale. So how do you look across that end-to-end process of our client journey and really embed AI in everything that we do? And not AI for AI's sake, but AI to provide that value. So whether it's providing industry-leading analytics with data that can better predict and help project outcomes from catastrophe modeling, if you will, to really analyzing the market and how we can best place risk, to how we can provide service capabilities like a certificate of insurance, which sounds simple, but is actually far more complex when it comes to being able to do those and do those quickly, and can shut a construction site down instantly. Who knew? Lessons you learn as you go along the way. But really taking on those big processes and problems, if you will, and applying AI to them. The second is really around our colleague-led AI and how we really enable our colleagues to better serve our clients by leveraging AI in their day-to-day. And by really looking at those two components, we're able to help our clients manage volatility. So when we look at the increasing volatility that exists, whether it be weather, workforce, trade, or technology, AI is critical to that. And actually, AI is impacting each of those in a different way. Really, it's core to what we do. It enables that data foundation and enables us to leverage that data to serve our clients. But the other thing that Greg also has been a phenomenal sponsor of is we have led with what we call 30% digital fluency. And we worked with Sadal Neely and Kareem Lakshani from Harvard, and we rolled out AI across our global leadership team. And that training and that getting to a common 30% digital fluency enables us as colleagues to have that conversation of how we can better apply AI to serve our clients. And that has really been an accelerator that I'd say that we've seen across the firm.
Yeah, big topic, right? I mean, you got to get that common language, get everyone on the same page, thinking about the art of the possible. We got to think about AI different than past innovation, right? It's a whole different animal. So, well, thank you, Greg Case. Just such an impressive executive. He must be very convincing because you had a great thing going at ConAgra. So to get you to come over to Aon and take this on, but yeah, just maybe say a couple words about Greg as an executive. What have you learned from Greg that's made you a better executive, Mindy?
Greg, I think, is an incredible leader that listens, is really thoughtful in his approach, and he really leads with people first in terms of how he can help you. He'll always say, I'm here to carry every colleague's bag. And it's really that service mindset, and I'd say the selfless leader of ultimately how does he serve both our clients and our colleagues serving our clients. And I think he embodies that every day in how he interacts.
Kind of leader we all want to work for, right? That's incredible. Well, again, thank you, Greg. And I've got another mystery question. I think it's a good time to insert it right now. Someone who has a pretty special lens into your leadership superpowers. So let's listen to this next one.
Mindy, one of the qualities people consistently admire about you is your ability to remain resilient, focused, and composed in the face of major transformation. It almost feels like a superpower. Many leaders struggle with maintaining that level of steadiness when things are changing rapidly. What lessons or advice would you share with others who are trying to develop that same capacity to navigate change without losing their focus or composure?
Andy Karaboutis.
That would be Andy Karaboutis. And who is Andy Karaboutis in your world?
She is one of our board members and sits on our audit committee. So I interact with Andy on a very regular basis and also have been an admirer of her career.
Yeah, special people. Thank you, Andy. We did a podcast together, episode 68, not too long ago, and another must listen. She's just so special. But yeah, a lot packed in her questions. I'll let you kind of work through that.
Yeah, I would say first I seek facts. And why? Because I think facts help to bring truth and transparency and enables you to lead through what can be high emotion. And it doesn't mean that you like the facts. You don't have to like the facts, but the facts are the facts. And from that, you can really gain alignment and a path forward. And it really, I think when you go back to kind of leading with empathy or, as you mentioned, even about Greg, of bringing people along, when they understand why and why with that data, it really helps them to really rally behind what it is that you're leading through. I'd add really leading without constraints. And so if you first think unconstrained, obviously there's always constraints, but I think you learn that you put in constraints that you may have constraints, Dan, that are different than mine. And so you end up having layers of assumptions that may not actually be valid. And so really starting from an unconstrained, developing a plan, and then layering in the constraints that exists. And lastly, I just say you have to keep perspective. At the end of the day, we're all people. We all care, we laugh. We're ultimately here because we love what we do. And at our core, we really want to do well. And so helping people understand why, where are we at, what is the data behind whatever it is that we're leading through, I think really helps people understand and come along the journey.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And data is such a big part of your story. I'm not gonna go into it in the podcast. We're gonna save that for your CO.com article because there's just so much depth to it. So I'm gonna just kind of whet people's appetite. But I think back to when when the announcement came out that you were joining the executive team as the COO, right on the same time, could have been the same day. It was when Andy was announced as a new board member. And I thought, okay, this is bigger than a couple of announcements. This is big. This is like a company saying, Mindy, Andy, we are serious about winning with technology. So is that proven to be the case?
Even I would say what we have seen is ultimately we listened to our clients that we needed to go faster and go faster in helping our clients make better decisions with data, helping our clients by being more efficient to work with, us being more efficient, which helps our clients get time back to really be able to be and focus on more of the strategic aspects of their roles, and ultimately helping our clients drive better business outcomes. And those three things are largely able to be enabled, not solely, but enabled by technology. And so, as part of that, about 2 years ago, we announced almost, I'd say, 2 years ago, almost to the day, that we announced the $1 billion investment of what we call our 3x3, which is really about acceleration of those capabilities for both our clients and our colleagues. And I would say the firm started that by ensuring that we have a focus on technology and a technology, again, with a clear purpose. And that's how we deliver capabilities to our clients.
Well, that's one of your trademarks, Mindy, that I want people to understand. You don't just talk about transformation. You and your teams make it happen. You make it real. You deliver. That old expression, the proof's in the pudding, right? So, kind of put you on the spot here a little bit, but can you point to some business results, some business impacts from all this big transformation work?
Yeah, I'm incredibly proud to have phenomenal business partners that have really taken the capabilities and have gotten them to our clients. One of the CEOs that I used to work with would talk about the downside of confidential innovation. And what he meant by that is if our consumers can't find our products, then they don't have value. And so the fact that our colleagues are getting our capabilities out to our clients is then where impact happens. And so what we've seen is higher organic growth, particularly in the US commercial risk where we launched the capabilities the fastest. We've seen decreases in jeopardy. So in terms of clients that come along and are dissatisfied with services that we provide, we've seen increased win rates with RFPs when our capabilities are part of that service offering. All of that measured by data, but all of that delivered by our colleagues to our clients. And then what's equally exciting is the number of clients who want to be part of early releases, want to be part of client councils, giving feedback of capabilities and really the journey that we're on. So yeah, the results, while early, I mean, we're a little over 18 months into the transformation, but are really compelling.
It's going to be really exciting to follow this. You get that flywheel going, right? You get that momentum, and the journey is going to be so exciting. Maybe you could kind of make this a little bit more tangible for folks. I mean, I think one of your gifts is your ability to connect the dots, right? You're able to connect the dots between transformation initiatives and business outcomes. So how do you, especially with more than 20,000 people, how do you do that? How do you make it real for folks?
I think it goes back to the core of leading with empathy. And inside, growing up on the farm, I am a highly independent person, and not for the sake of being independent, but for the sake of that's just how I grew up. And in doing so, I learned early on, no one likes being told what to do. Nobody. Like if you have kids, your kids don't like it. Most every person on the planet does not like to be told what to do. But when you help them to understand the why, and you do transformation with people versus two people, it really enables them to be part of that journey. And so really ensuring that they can have a voice, that they're heard, that they're really brought along the journey, and with that common outcome, which for us at this firm has been really easy to rally around because it's ultimately about serving our clients better. And no one doesn't like doing that, right? I mean, we are a client service firm. That's what everyone comes to work here every day to do. And so, really bringing everyone along that journey. And change management is core, no doubt. But what I'd say is we've really approached it with embedded change management in terms of those that are leading the work and leading the client service are also part of the journey and part of the really input in terms of where we're going. And that leaves 0 degrees of separation for interpretation and helps to bring everyone along.
Yeah, amazing. You talked about Greg being a people first leader. That is certainly one of your trademarks too, Mindy. And this work's hard, right? I mean, transformation is hard. It's complex. It's messy. Um, you've gotten so good at it. I mean, you kind of run to it, right? And everyone loves change when it's someone else who's getting changed, right? So, any other thoughts you have in terms of how you overcome this, the fear in as part of it, the resistance to change, how you take people on that journey, put them in the cathedral 3 years out, as you start to build those first bricks. Any more of your playbook you can share there?
Honestly, disrupting yourself is much more fun than being disrupted. And so in the aspects of control, you can control how you approach it. And that was a great lesson, from the era of working with an activist investor. You cannot like what the facts are, but you have to understand the amount of control that you actually have. And each of us have a lot of control in what we choose to do every day. And so looking at where things are going and helping to map that path, I would much rather lead that disruption than be disrupted. And I love Clayton Christensen's The Innovator's Dilemma because I think there's so many lessons within that in terms of knowing, and it's hard, right? And it takes discipline and you have to encourage people to understand like, well, we're already changing. Why do we need to change again? Or why do we need to change faster? But I think particularly in this era where change is so fast, being able to, again, sort the fact from fiction, because you can get into a FOMO environment right now of feeling perpetually behind. But I think really grounding yourself in facts, grounding yourself in a network that can help you, using partners and others and peers along the journey, really can put you in a position where you're leading through that versus being victim of it.
Well, you're as I say, you're really great at this, and it's how do you slow the game down for your people, right? And so they can be successful. And we know the whole notion, confused minds don't act, and we can't afford people not acting right now. We got to go faster. So yeah, great nuggets. Mindy, a few more questions for you, but I'd like to pivot to our Tech for Good scholarship, and you know how this works, right? It's one of my favorite parts of the podcast, and we get to learn about amazing STEM or STEAM nonprofits, who are making big impacts in our profession. So, do you have somebody in mind? You work with a lot. Aon works with a lot of great STEM organizations. Is there someone you'd like to gift this 9-month IT-specific leadership development program? We call it TechLX, a scholarship in that program.
Yeah, for us, we have a partnership with Exchange Chicago, and that really helps provide mentorship and work opportunities for students and really young career adults to get into technology. And it's a tremendous organization and something that Aon has been a part of. So that would be phenomenal, Dan. Thank you.
I love it. I've not heard of them. I'm definitely gonna look into them, and we're gonna post them on our website. We're gonna talk about them in our show notes. But yeah, thank you for that, Exchange Chicago, and we will definitely get them plugged in, Mindy. So that's great stuff. I promised that we're going to do a deeper dive in the article around data, but I do want to share something it was one of those moments where I said, she just said that. You talked about data as the foundation, but then you said boldly, courageously, we have better data. So maybe talk about that in terms of your global integrated architecture. I think that would be like red meat for the audience here in terms of, the underfooting of underpinning of all that.
Yeah. So when you think about AI and the power of AI and think of the foundation of an AI factory, AI factories can work only so far as an organizational silo. And that then leads to data silos. So whether colleagues live in an environment with multiple ERPs, multiple data warehouses, multiple, a long list of things that happen because of business structures, what we don't have are those silos because of the Aon United that we talked about earlier. So the fact that we can look with our data and leverage our data to best serve our clients, again, by respecting privacy and regional, controls and regulations that are out there. But by nature of our business not being siloed, it enables us to look across that data in ways that others haven't. So combining human capital data. So think about health and health combined with workers' comp. Well, you may say, well, Mindy, health and workers' comp, aren't those very close? Well, in most organizations, they are completely different functions, right? Workers' comp tends to be in supply chain and health tends to be in a people org or human capital. For us, we can look at the data across a client as an example to see correlations, of which there are many, to help our clients make decisions on how to better manage that and ultimately reduce impacts to their employees. So a huge, huge benefit to clients. And through that, we also have these great assets that we've built over time. So whether it be impact forecasting, which is really our own model that we use to model catastrophe, and all the data from what we've modeled over decades. We have industry partnerships. And that is differentiating for us because of the Aon United structure, because of what we call really the bespoke data assets that come with that, and because our data is largely boundaryless. That enables us to do analytics that others cannot.
Just thinking of all the things you shared, the risk management, the human capital, all these things coming together. Just such an impressive story. It's 2025. Take us up to 2028. It's October 2028, Mindy, 3 years out. Kind of speak to your 60,000 colleagues and all those clients out there. It's really you're taking technology, data, insights, that consultative guiding approach you talked about. And in your Investor Day presentation, you ended it with, "We're just getting started. So the opportunity for future impact is significant and exciting." What's that look like from where you sit?
Yeah, this is a hard question. I would say to me, the greatest power is the power of choice. And in 2028, great success to me would be the number one choice for clients and colleagues being Aon.
That's a headline right there. That's a headline. So easy, right? So easy on paper. Mindy, you're amazing. I so appreciate you. We're recording here. You've got board meetings this week. You've got Ryder Cup this week. You've got climate stuff going on at the UNN. You've always got these big things going. You're always so calm. I don't know how you do it, but I just can't tell you how much we appreciate you and you appreciate and how much you've just shared with us today.
Well, thank you, Dan. It's been an honor and it's really a privilege representing the firm and all of the colleagues, particularly the ABS colleagues that are on this journey.
Well, thank you so much, Mindy Simon, for allowing me to feature you on the Tech Whispers podcast. I know we had fun talking about why you kept pushing me off, but all for the right reasons. You wanted to wait for the results. You wanted to wait for the proof in the pudding, and I appreciate you doing that. You just gave us a masterclass, literally, in leading transformation and doing it with a calm and composure that I think is a special part of your secret sauce. You talked about winning with data. You talked about driving outcomes and how that speaks louder than any theory ever could. And so as promised, we're not going to stop here. We're going to spend some more time. Next week, we're going to launch an article on CR.com, which we're going to really go deeper into Mindy's data journey, her data strategy, and the bold declaration she made a few months ago to investors. We have better data. So we're going to unpack that. So meanwhile, I want everyone to share this podcast with your your friends, your colleagues, your network, so they can learn from Mindy's brilliance. And join me next time as we continue to shine the light on the best digital leaders that are shaping our companies and our industries and our profession. So with that, stay well, and I'll see y'all next time.